Good evening and welcome to the Illinois Symphony Orchestra's Sunday at Six Recital Series and our Serenade to Spring Gala presented by Concordia Village and the ISO Guild of Springfield. I'm Executive Director Trevor Orthmann, and tonight we feature flutist Amanda Pond and special guest Tatiana Shustova on piano. These Sunday at Six performances are made possible through the generosity of Deborah and Daniel Brownstone, Denny and Linda Steele, and the Illinois Arts Council Agency. We also thank our Serenade to Spring sponsors, Dr. Victoria Nichols Johnson, Dr. Patricia and Mr. Randall Rushing, Barbara and Charles Schweighauser, Alan and Marty Stutz, and Kathy Ransom and Marianne Elson. I encourage everyone to go to our website, ilsymphony.org, and click on the Serenade to Spring Gala link to make sure you are registered to bid. Among the many wonderful items you can bid on are a recital in your home by Amanda, a fine selection of beef from Bun Gourmet, and many fabulous dinners, dessert packages, and artwork. Bidding will end at 10 p.m. this evening, so now is the time to get in your final bids. Following this evening's performance, we will again have our Coda Conversations discussion with tonight's featured artists and our music director, Ken Lam, followed by our Serenade to Spring Gala hosted by Illinois Stories' Mark McDonald. If you want to ask questions during the conversation, please do so by typing in the chat feature of YouTube or Facebook. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ken.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. And I want to introduce tonight's musician, Amanda Pond. Amanda has been with the Illinois Symphony for well over a decade as our second flute player. And she was one of the first musicians that I had the opportunity to meet and chat really talk to when I first got here, because before I even got here, because she was on the music director search committee. So I got to know Amanda a little bit. And tonight, she's going to be presenting a very interesting program with her colleague at Millikan University. Without further ado, here is Amanda.
Hi, thank you for joining us this evening. We are really excited to share some beautiful French music with you. We're going to start with a piece by Debussy, who's a well-known French composer. And we're playing two movements from a piece called Six Epigraphs Antiques. This is a piece that Debussy wrote in 1914, where he arranged as a suite for piano. He did a version for solo piano and then something called four hands piano, which is like a duo essentially. It was a reworking of an arrangement he made for a 1901 performance of poems by his friend and poet Pierre Louis. Those poems were written in 1894, and these epigraphs were intended as incidental music, meaning music that you play in between the poems, and they should sort of reflect the character of each of the poems and or sort of move you on to the character of the next one. And there are several versions of this transcriptions because it's such beautiful music, including this one for flute and piano by Anthony Summers. Given Debussy's beautiful writing for flute in other places, like in Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun and Syrinx, our famous flute solo, we thought that this arrangement for flute and piano seemed like a natural fit. Again, we were playing two movements. One is called the Flute du Pan. It's to invoke Pan, the god of the summer wind, and it depicts sort of a pastoral scene. And then the second movement we're playing is for the dancing girl with the crotales. Crotales are sort of a metallic brass percussion instrument that you can strike or use in other ways to sort of make a festive sounds, let's say. And it has a sort of light and playful. So I hope you enjoy these two Debussy movements. Next, I'm going to play a solo flute piece for you. This is by Eugene Botza. He wrote this in 1936, likely. We're not sure the exact date. This is considered part of a pastoral phase of Botza's. This is a short piece written in 3 parts. It's sort of fast, low, fast, but each of the parts has it begins with like a slow introduction, and then each of the fast, slow, fast sections is connected by cadenza. And the entire piece really is supposed to sound like an improvisation and is supposed to sound spontaneous. And so I hope you enjoy this Eugene Botza Image. So before our next piece, I need to swab my flute out. So we're in a cool room with a lot of hot air. So Tatiana is going to play a little swabbing music for me. So let's... nice. This is a mystery this evening, so if you know this piece, please put it in the comments. I don't know what it is. And Tatiana did not tell me. And so if you know what it is, let us know. And if you guess correctly, we will give you a gold star. How about that? And Tatiana will tell us at the end of the program. Our next piece is Gaubert's first sonata. This is a piece that is new to me, although it is a staple of the flute repertoire. Gaubert wrote this in 1917 and dedicated it to his teacher at the Paris Conservatory, Paul Taffanel. In general, it's characterized by feeling a freedom and spontaneity, as much of the music on this program is actually, and it fits in quite well in that way. And it has a constant and equal dialogue with the piano, and it's quite moody. And it also really explores the full expressive potential of the flute in terms of sound and dynamics. There are 3 movements, one of which the composer asks you to play with a very clear tone, and has a very pensive opening. The second movement is the composer was a flutist, by the way, Gaubert, and so he gives some very specific instructions. And the second movement says to play with a very calm and powerful tone. And then the third movement is a little more free-flowing and improvisational and feeling. And at the very end of the final movement, the opening from the first movement comes back. So I hope you enjoy these 3 movements from the Gaubert Sonata. Our final piece this evening is Due to You, is the name of the composer, and it's his sonatine, Henri Due to You. And you have to excuse me, I don't speak French, and I pronounce it like a Midwesterner, so if you speak French, then my apologies. So Due to You wrote this in 1943. It was commissioned for the final flute exams at the Paris Conservatory. The flutists, we have several staples in our repertory from these commissions, and they're all really fun, great music, including from Gaubert, the composer we just played. These French conservatory pieces, they're meant to display both sort of lyrical and technical ability, and so they're generally organized with a slow section and a fast section. This sonatine was one of the few early pieces of Due to You, who was quite self-critical, one of the very few that he later disowned. He expressed reservations about it, saying that it had unoriginal musical language, which is, it's too bad he didn't enjoy it. There are, however, two connections to his later work, which he didn't disown and liked quite a bit. The idea is that the first is the idea of thematic progression or progressive growth, where the theme isn't kind of played in its definitive state at the beginning, but it kind of gets spun out through the whole work. This is used in the slow section of this next piece. And the second connection to his later works is that he dislikes breaks between movements. So the slow just goes into the fast section. And he thinks breaks in movement, and this is a direct quote, spoil music's power to enchant us. I am certain you will enjoy this Due to You as much as we have, and certainly more than he did. So Due to You sonatine is the last piece of it on our program. And we look forward to talking to you after. Thank you so much for joining us today. I wanted to thank you for being with us, and to thank Tatiana for her beautiful playing. And also, I forgot to mention that we are at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Champaign, and we'd like to thank them for having us today. And to Ken and Trevor and Chet for this opportunity. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Amanda and Tatiana. That was really, did not know the Dutilleux piece. And it's really fun. I don't know why he wouldn't like the piece.
I know, right?
It's so yeah. Now, let me start by just talking about the program and this collaboration. And obviously, you are colleagues at Millikan.
Yeah.
When is this your first collaboration together, or?
Yes, this is the very first time we've played together. So Tatiana has played beautifully and often heroically for many of my students, and I've heard her many times and thought how much I would like to collaborate with her. So when this came up, I thought, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because Tatiana, you are in I read your the bio. I'm sure that's the short one that I read on the website, and you play in a trio with Amy.
Yeah, with Professor Amy Catron. She's a chair professor at Medican University, and we recently did the program at ICU at Bloomington as well. Just like before all the pandemic started. That was too bad because we also had arranged a recital in Washington, D.C. with a friend of mine. But yeah, always it was canceled, unfortunately. And my husband, also violinist, Aaron Jacobs, yeah, he's played with us with his trio, yeah. And I think Amanda, we worked a little bit on one thing with together with Finnish flutists actually.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
It was 100 years ago though. Yeah, we played a little bit together. It was like a little project I put together with Finnish flutists. So yeah, quite a big dynasty of flutists around here. So yeah, that's really.
I forgot about that. Tatiana invited a guest artist, American Finnish flutist Sami Junanen, and
This is Sammy, right?
Yes. Do you know
Yeah,
Sami?
I've played with him. I played with Sammy in Hong Kong.
Yes, he visited us. He was kind of doing a tour of the area almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, 2 years. It was a long time ago. But
Yeah, he's a character, isn't he?
So lovely to play here for cooperate with Amanda again.
Right. And how have you enjoyed putting this recital together?
You want to go ahead?
No.
Yeah. I think it was really refreshing for me. Every opportunity I go out and play recital in whatever format it is online. We started in person a little bit at the American University, so that's great. But everything it just keeps us going in recital mode. So we're not just practicing for ourselves. And that's great, because when we go to real stage, we're still there in good shape.
Yeah, that we I totally agree with Tatiana. We're kind of taking every opportunity that's offered to us right now, because even though you keep up your playing during this quarantine, your performing skills get rusty. At least mine certainly have. And doing something in collaboration, responding in real time to other musicians, like all of those skills, we need to keep them up, and it's been hard to do that in the past year.
Yeah, and how has the teaching been? I know both of you teach, and has it been a lot of Zoom lessons, or are you able to teach in person?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a mix. I have a few remote students and some in person. And so in person, we are sometimes actually playing with masks on, which is safe and frustrating, but it's better than the alternative. And the students who are in person really seem to prefer that to Zoom. And so it's a mix of both, but we've been able to do it safely all year at Millikan.
Yeah, it must be very difficult for wind players, right?
Yeah, it really is, and specifically flute, because it's held horizontally, obviously, and the mouthpiece doesn't go in your mouth, so that actually sometimes the mask it messes with your air, and so it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Now, these Sunday at Sixes. I don't know whether you actually watched one of these before, but it actually is really nice for me, because I actually get to know the musicians a little bit more, because a lot of times I know you a little bit because we chatted initially, before I even arrived there, but we at rehearsals and concerts, we don't really chit chat. We don't have time for that. We're rehearsing all the time. So Amanda, I mean, I know a lot of people, I'm sure you've been around the community for a while, but tell us about yourself. I read your bio, but like, where did you come from, and how did you end up here?
Let's see. I grew up in northern Illinois. So it's just south of the Wisconsin border, in a little town called Johnsburg in McHenry County. So I am truly a lifelong Midwesterner, and I started playing the flute in public school music, actually, in 5th grade, and I lucked out and had 2 really terrific public school music teachers. The first of whom. Sue Childress is her name. We're Facebook friends. Maybe she's watching. She is a lovely flutist herself, and she was my first and primary teacher. And then my high school band director, Richard Austin, so just a terrific musician. They're both great people, great musicians, and I feel like that's what got me into music. My family really likes music, but there's no classical background at all. Nobody took lessons or played instruments around the house until my siblings and I did. And then so I came to the University of Illinois, and I ended up getting 2 performance degrees there. I met my husband there, and so we have basically stayed in the area. He works with computers at NCSA here in town, And we have a son, a 17-year-old who's about to graduate high school. And
is he a musician?
Yes, he's been a percussionist. He started in public school as well, and he hasn't played much in the past year. And it was always apparent that he enjoyed it, and it wasn't going to be a career for him as it has been for me. And he was very straightforward about that. He said something early on like, "You have to practice too much," I think is basically what he said to me. Which, I mean, he would know. He's had a bird's eye view of the whole lifestyle, and so I think he was just like, "No, thank you." But I've been in this area, right, and I play in 5 different orchestras, and I've been lucky enough to start at Millikan, and I started teaching at the University of Illinois Springfield as well this past fall. So I haven't even been on campus yet, or I don't know, I might have an office, I don't really know.
But isn't it amazing that, time and time again, when I talk to professional musicians at the ISO, the very similar story, because they had a really inspiring teacher when they were young, and then they didn't really have a lot of music background in the family, but it's just that environment, so it is such an important part of I'd say the mission of any orchestra, isn't it, is to try and give young people that opportunity. And hopefully, I'm sure we'll talk more about this evening. But that's really, thank you for sharing that. And if it's okay, I'd like to ask the same with Tatiana, because you are from St. Petersburg.
Right. Yeah. Former Leningrad. Yeah.
Former Leningrad.
Yeah. How did you? When you grew up, did you always knew you were going to be a pianist? And how did you come to this country?
Well, actually, strangely, but I think I know that I will be a pianist since very early age. I had an early training opportunity, I think. My piano lesson started at the age of 3. Wow. And sometimes I think it just was maybe a little bit difficult. So sometimes I get upset about practicing. But then my mom said, well, let's just sell this piano. And at this moment, I understand that I never want this piano to be far away from me. So, and it was a clear memory of the age of 3. So, yeah, so, and then all the training I got in Russia was like really substantial, going to music school for, it's very different like structure than in the United States. We had a music school that you could take music lessons and go to other public school lessons. So it was all the same buildings, which is very convenient. And so it was music school for gifted kids.
I see. So right.
Yeah, 80% of kids from this school, they go to a professional music world after that training. So that was very, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you come to the United States?
I came in 2005. I came for my master's degree at Bowling Green State University under Maxim Mogileevsky, my piano professor there. I took a little time after ending up St. Petersburg Conservatory, just for like 5 years. I was just working and looking for possibilities to practice more my master's degree. But finally, I found this place because someone suggested to go to this professor. And so I enjoyed my degree there, and then I ended up doing my doctorate in University of Illinois with Dr. Hobson.
Oh, that's really great. I came to this country also in 2005.
Oh, really?
We're at the same time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the time flies really fast. It feels like it's all.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, be true. It's more than 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get to go back to Russia?
I used to go every year, like 2 times, and just 1 time, but pretty much regularly 1 time. And we stayed there with my husband, and we took a little son with us. Now we have 2 sons. So we're waiting just when pandemic will be over, so we can take both of them there. That would be wonderful.
Right. Now, I want to. I haven't seen questions on the screen yet, but I don't know whether if you do, because my screen is actually really, really small. But if you do see questions, we can look at them. But I want to go back to Amanda actually, I also read on your bio that you also play Baroque music quite a lot.
Yes.
And do you play on a special instrument, or do you play with the same instrument?
Yeah, I play. No, it is a reproduction of a historic instrument made by a physicist here in town. Actually, his name is Ron Lashevsky. So it's actually I have two. One is pitched 415. One is pitched 392, and they're what called one key flutes, or traverso is the name there. And so it's all wooden. The head joint is cylindrical, but it tapers at the end. It only has the one key, and the rest are just you cover the holes like you would on like a recorder. So it's a different finger system, has a different the sound production is quite a bit different. Takes a lot less air. And there's a lot of inequality built into the instrument, meaning, the modern flute, the goal is to have perfectly even quality all throughout the instrument. And the Baroque flute is, in fact, the sort of inequality was valued as beautiful, sort of the combination of weak and strong notes. And so,
okay, now that's, yeah. But before we go on, there you mentioned a number of concepts there. And
yeah.
I wonder whether all the audience actually know what they are. For, like when you say inequality
Yes.
of tones, and what do you actually mean by that?
Yes, meaning that some notes are strong. They naturally come through with a very strong quality on the flute, and the other one they use either something that's called cross fingerings, meaning your some holes are closed, so this is not the correct flute, and some are open, and so it's just a much weaker sound. So I really mean it's sort of both the volume of the sound and the quality itself is much weaker. It's basically almost every other note on the flute. There's like an open note and then a cover note, which is a lot weaker and has a lot different tone quality.
And you mentioned also that is actually valued.
Yes, yeah.
Now, how can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
The idea is that that something is beautiful when, rather than it everything being exactly the same, that instead that when you pair strong with weak, it is sort of the most beautiful thing. I mean, aesthetics are they change a lot. And so, during that time, the idea of what was considered beautiful is very different than what we have now. And it's true of all the instruments from like a forte piano. Lots of instruments from that era have that similar kind of pairing of weak and strong. Yeah.
And also you mentioned that your flutes are tuned at 415 and so on. So could you tell us what that means and what will happen if you take your Baroque flute and play with the modern orchestra?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, so our modern pitch is a 440-ish, depending on the orchestra, and it's
depending on whether it's the beginning or the end of the concert, right?
That's right, a 440 plus sometimes, right? Yeah, and so these are they're lower pitched instruments, so that I couldn't play my instrument in the modern orchestra unless I was transposing, basically. And so you either play with other instruments that are pitched at 415 or 392. And so pitch centers in the 18th century were, there was no standard. And so they were sort of, every region, every town had a different pitch center. So you had to kind of be willing to roll with it. And sometimes you even had exchangeable middle joints in your flute so that you could have a shorter one if you were in a town with higher pitch and a longer one if you were in a town with lower pitch. And so there was no standard.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Maybe one of these days we do another one with you playing the Baroque flute.
Yes, I would love to.
Tatiana can go on the harpsichord or something.
Well, we should pick one here or something.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, we only have a couple of minutes left before the gala starts, but I want to ask both of you, actually. Now, every Sunday at 6, we talk about what have you been doing in the pandemic, and I'd actually like to ask a more optimistic question, which is, now that people are getting vaccinated and things are slowly opening up again, what are you most looking forward to after this is all over?
That's a great question. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I need to think actually. It's so many things.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
Yeah.
definitely travel anywhere. I mean, this is the longest I've been in this. I've not left the state of Illinois in my entire life. I'm seeing my family. My family is spread out, so I've been able to see my parents since they were just vaccinated recently. But I have a sister in Seattle. I have a sister and niece in Atlanta, a brother in Minnesota, and so I haven't seen them in a very long time. I'm looking forward to that very much, and I am definitely looking forward to playing live music in front of people again. It's been something that has been a real loss, and I'm healthy, we're well, and we have our basic needs met, but this need of performing is hard to replace.
Yeah. And Tatiana?
Well, about same thing as Amanda mentioned, the whole traveling thing. For me, it's more like related to some abroad little projects I was playing. Especially, I was invited to Italy to a Green Music Festival last summer, but I didn't go there, obviously. So I don't know if they continue this summer or not. So things like that, and also traveling to Russia back, it's not possible right now. Maybe over summer, but I don't know yet. Yeah, and definitely a live performance, real concerts. That's what's a big part of our life. It's about same. It's just generally like just more quiet atmospheres that people more happy around. That's missing big time too.
Yeah. Well, that's really great. I mean, it is amazing, isn't it? This pandemic has basically taught us how much we miss sharing music with people.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to see you guys in person. And I'm told Chet was telling me that there are no questions, but just a lot of compliments about your playing and the music making. So if that's okay, I think we should probably wrap up here, and I will hand it back to Trevor. And Amanda, I look forward to seeing you. That was such a beautifully played, both of you, such an enjoyable recital. Thank you. And back to Trevor now.
Hi, thank you so much, Amanda and Tatiana. Wonderful performance. And now it's great to introduce our host for the evening, Mark McDonald of Illinois Stories. Mark?
Well, thank you, Trevor, and Ken and Amanda and Tatiana. My goodness, that was perfectly played music. Didn't you think, Trevor? It was just perfectly played.
Yeah, great music, and nothing better than an evening of French music on a beautiful spring evening.
That's for sure. Well, welcome to a Serenade to Spring online gala. Many of you may have joined the galas before in past years, and you know that it's a huge event when hundreds of us come together to enjoy the possibilities of live music. And it's not possible this year, Trevor, but we're doing the next best thing, and we're doing all we can do by being online and serving the same purpose.
Yes, we're trying so hard to continue to bring live music to our community. And we definitely have hopes for a 21-22 season opening in October. We're working on the plans. We had about 10 or 15 plans for this season, and we are still even hoping to have a performance with some live audience in June, and continue to work on that, and hopefully we'll have more details in a couple weeks.
Oh, that's terrific. I'm going to bring you and Ken back in just a couple of minutes to talk more about that, because I know the people that are watching tonight are desperate to know when those possibilities can occur. So I'll bring you back in just a minute, okay?
Great.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to remind the others of you that if you want to join us on the gala tonight, go to www.illsymphony.org and click on Serenade to Spring. What you'll find there is more information about the gala, but you'll also find that there's an auction going on tonight, and there's some very interesting items that you're going to want to take a look at. So go ahead and click on that auction and find out what we've got. We've got a number of really fetching things. One is a round of golf with Ken Lam. I don't know if he's any good or not, but it's going to be fun. The other is lots of meals, lots of food, plenty of food. And Amanda Pond, who you just heard play, there's a concert by Amanda that's also on the auction list, and you'll want to take a look at that. So those are the highlights up for the auction items. I want to thank some people before we get going any further. Our presenting sponsors are the Concordia Village and the Illinois Symphony Guild of Springfield. Our spring sponsors are Dr. Patricia and Mr. Randall Rushing, Victoria and Nichols Johnson, Alan and Marty Stutz, and Barbara and Charles Schweighauser. Thanks to all of them for making this possible. We're here to celebrate the power of music tonight, and hopefully our celebration tonight will bring us into a whole new season of listening live. I'd like to bring back in, now that we just talked about Trevor and Ken, about the possibilities for this season and next season. Gentlemen?
Yes, Ken, you need to turn on your mic here. And, one of the things is we've sort of the last year, 13 months now, has been, something that we would never expect in our lifetimes, of basically changing course many times to try to adapt and make music a part of everyone's lives, and to provide performances for our audiences and patrons throughout Central Illinois. And we look really, one of the things we are doing is looking forward to hopefully having an entire full season next year. Most likely that will involve hopefully all live performances, but also online options for those that may not be able to make it to the concert halls yet. So we're working on all of those details. But just looking back this past year, one of the things this evening was a Sunday at 6 performance, and we've had 13 of those performances and over 7,000 views for all of those performances combined. Ken, I think one of your favorite times was the Holiday Pops concert.
Yes, Trevor. That was really meaningful. We managed to have the concert with a small string orchestra, and we collaborated with the Springfield Ballet and the Springfield Youth Ballet, and it was just a really beautiful evening of the community coming together, and we did it safely. Everybody wore masks, and we basically sent a message out that we are not going to let this COVID beat us. And the performance was live streamed. The musicians, every musicians we asked showed up, and because they were just so looking forward to seeing each other and playing music. And so we had just a lot of really good energy. And of course, that was also the first time we tested out with our video and sound team. And we actually had, I can't remember how many cameras we have, but every musician had a mic to themselves. And the whole thing was broadcasted live. And I believe, Trevor, that the viewing figures actually beat our expectations.
28,000 views of the Holiday Pops concert. So incredible number of people that watched it. Some more than twice, but that still is just wonderful. Definitely larger than our audiences in the concert halls experienced the performance. And another one was just a couple weeks ago, was our first chamber orchestra performance, which also was online and was part of the Lincoln Land Community Colleges, the NEA Big Reads program that they were participating in. And, that was just another great experience. And you may want to say a little bit about that, Ken.
Yeah, well, that was also a collaboration between the symphony and the photographer Rich Saul. And we were able to use his images and drone footage in 2 of the pieces that we played. And again, thanks to the Second Presbyterian Church in Bloomington, we were able to have a concert basically fielding a full Illinois Symphony Chamber Orchestra. I think altogether over 20 musicians plus our harpist was there. And also because we learned from the holiday pops that people from all over the country, and in fact all over the world, tuned in to watch the performances. This time around, we decided to intersperse the music with videos explaining the music, talking about the venue, and interviews with the artists and so on. So it sort of felt almost like watching a TV show, and we were able to have a few live audience. And again, the musicians were just overjoyed to be playing some really great music together again. And I think we just cannot wait for the fall to come and to do more, to get back to normal.
And I think one of the big things is at the beginning of our fiscal year in July is we actually had the Sangamon Valley Youth Symphony now join us, and we now have the Illinois Symphony Youth Orchestras and Civic Orchestra under our umbrella, and also hired conductor Logan Campbell, who also is assistant conductor of the Illinois Symphony. And with COVID, everybody's worked so hard that we've been able to continue to bring, for almost the entire season, in-person experience for 4 levels of our youth orchestra, as well as the volunteer civic orchestra, which many times for the young kids that are in the program, they have been doing so much online learning. So many times it was their only interaction with their fellow peers to make music and to interact other than online. So that was really exciting. And we've also had a partnership, and Ken, you might want to speak with a bit more about this, with UIS Music Department. You were very active in providing different programs.
Yes, Trevor. And as Amanda earlier was talking about, and I referred to it, the education must be it's a really core mission of the Illinois Symphony, and all of these collaborations to take over the youth orchestra collaboration, UIS, and more to come, really reflects the importance that we place on community outreach and education, because every student, that every professional musician on stage once had a really inspiring teacher, just like hopefully the young people that we are surfacing in the youth orchestra. And so with UIS, we started with something small, which is a series of online talks. And these were in collaboration with the Guild as well. And we were going to do some for the Guild, and UIS came along. And so those were really nice and just brought people together. And I think people just want, also, as much as they also love the music and listening to the music, also just really wanted to see each other. And so it provided an opportunity to do that. Hopefully we'll continue with those and more in the seasons to come. So, and of course, we have other collaborations, the ITSE Arts program and so on, which I think we'll talk about a little later.
We'll talk about that a little later. Sort of one of the final highlights is our Around the Town, and partnering with the UIS Performing Arts Center to live stream several Around the Town performances of chamber groups, many times made up of all of our principal strings. And it's been great. And we look at now, with the weather turning nice, to move outdoors and have more performances of Around the Town throughout the summer. So watch for that. And then we're looking forward to opening the 2021 season, or the 21-22 season in October. But we're still working on hopefully having one concert in June, if we can find venues to perform these concerts in, which has been one of the biggest challenges over the course of the last year. one thing that has really stood tall is all of the support we've received from all of our patrons throughout the pandemic. And without that support, it just wouldn't be the hope that we continue to have and trying to bring you live performances and classical music. It would have probably become very difficult without all of the wonderful support and just kind remarks that people would send to hang in and just keep going, and it's going to happen, and we're here to support you. So one of our big supporters has been Kathy Ransom, and she's been one that's been wanting live performances with audiences soon after the pandemic started. So we continue to say it's going to happen, hopefully very soon. So now I'd like to turn it over to Kathy.
Good evening. It's great to be here. I happen to be one of those that was lucky enough to be one of the 19 people in the audience a couple of weeks ago. And it reminded me again of how much I miss the music of the Illinois Symphony. As I was sort of thinking about what to say tonight, 3 words popped into my head. One, as I think about this strange year plus, is the word loss. I feel at a loss because we don't have and haven't been able to have in-person contact. In-person contact for concerts, for church, for eating, for friendship, for meeting family, for any kind of live recreation, whether it was a sports program or whatever. Loss is a word that has entered my mind lots of times. The second word that I think of now, and that's anticipation. I really do look forward to the time when we can crank up the symphony again and hear that music and see them in person and bury our mask. I am ready to get rid of those masks whenever they say it's safe. But I think I may have a burning of the mask ceremony or something like that, and you can join me in doing it. The third word that I want to say, and it's been implied several times this evening already, and that's the word thanks. It's beyond my imagination of how marvelous the staff, as well as the musicians when they've been called on, have helped to keep the symphony connected, to keep the machine glued together, or maybe it would be more appropriate to say, keep the strings in tune, if we wanted to use a musical analogy. During this period of time, I've had opportunity to listen to recorded music that was beautiful, because you can get it on your phone, you can get it on your internet, you can get it on the TV, you can listen to your own records. But it's just not the same. And the other night when I was in Bloomington Normal and the music started, I almost had tears in my eyes. I don't know really why live music or a live performance or a live ball game, why they are different from great streaming. Our church pitched in and we had a great service, but it wasn't the same. When you see the symphony just on a screen, they're doing a super job. The musicians care, they're playing their hearts out, or a baseball team, they're doing the best they can. But not only does the audience miss being there, I think the performers, whether it's the musicians or the football players or whatever, there is this interaction. It's quiet interaction. On a football team or a baseball diamond, it's noisy action. But that adds to the energy that seems to come both to the receiver of what's happening as well as to the giver. So it's been tough. I think we all enjoy being with friends, not in isolation. And I bottom line, I'm afraid there are people who are really going to be hurt because of this long period of isolation, especially if they had to live alone. So tonight, I'm really thrilled to be invited to share, to let you know how much I care, how much I appreciate being invited to talk about it, to say thanks. But tonight, I really want to say we each need to, this evening of the gala, a very strange gala, and my, how the committee worked to make this happen. I just finished my key lime pie and it was wonderful, and it was in person. You know, if I'd just seen the key lime pie there in the picture, it wouldn't have tasted nearly as delicious as it did. But I want to invite each of us to think about what can we give financially tonight during this gala to make sure that the efforts of Ken and Trevor and 80 some musicians, I don't know, maybe there's only 65, there's a bunch of them over there on the stage, I don't know how many, that each of them and every employee that we have, that we can keep the ship afloat. And that's up to you and me. I've already pledged ahead of time that I will once again sponsor a concert. That's why I was invited up to Bloomington, because I was sponsoring that concert and it was sort of a glorious time and I was glad to be there. I anticipate and dream of a new day. I'm not a Pollyanna. I really think we will soon have another day. Won't you join me tonight in thinking about how deep can I go into my pocketbook? Because each of us, you, me, and our friends, love live classical music. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Kathy, it's Mark here.
Hi, Mark.
That is remarkably generous. We're going to talk about concert sponsorships later on in the gala. But Kathy, that's a $6,500 donation from you, and that's just remarkably generous.
I just love the symphony. I've loved it ever since I came to Springfield in 1958. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kathy, and it was great to hear from you.
Good to see you.
Okay, bye-bye. Well, now we are entering the time of the gala, the Fund the Music program. Now, at a typical gala, you would be sitting at tables in the banquet hall, and we'd ask you to raise your hand and tell us how and when you would like to help support the symphony. Well, we don't mind if you raise your hands now. We won't see it. You're at home and we can't see you. But another option you'd have is to go ahead to the chat part of your screen. You'll find it on the side. And if you'd like to chat with us about how you would like to support the symphony, you can do it that way. Many of you may prefer not to do it the old-fashioned way. So here's the information I would like you to write down to tell us how you would like to support the symphony, how you would like to fund the music. Development Director Darren Burnett is at dburnett@illsymphony.org. He also can be reached by phone at 217-522-2838, extension 113. Darren is putting information in the chat box right now for you to follow up with. Remember, that's Darren Burnett, 217-522-2838, extension 113. The first level for Fund the Music is our concert sponsor, which we were just talking about. The ISO fully intends to have these concerts in the 2021-2022 season, and that means concert sponsors. Trevor's going to explain a little bit more.
So we're so looking forward to hopefully returning to live performances. And right now, the 21-22 season is scheduled to open on October 9th and October 10th. We are looking forward to hopefully having a live audience at that time and to bring back live music to our community and allowing all of our dedicated musicians to perform for audiences again in our concert halls. We've had not only Kathy's generous contribution, but also an anonymous donor has also sponsored a concert, and we are looking for definitely more that would help in bringing the concerts that now have been over 14 months without back to the community beginning this October.
Okay, that's really good news because I know people are just itching to hear listen live again. Our next level is the guest artist sponsor. And once again, the ISO has these dynamic guest artists coming to Springfield to perform, and they are ready to perform. Trevor and Ken, you can tell us a little bit about the men and women who have thrilled us over the years and also the possible ones that are coming in the future.
Yes, Mark, we've had so many guest artists scheduled. We actually had a season plan for this year that we didn't announce. So we have many guest artists that we are hoping will be able to perform next season. And we're also looking at, if the dates don't work out because it's a new season and a new day, that we would then find some exciting guest artists that would bring their talents to the community in the coming season. And right now, one of those is violinist William Hagen, a young American violinist, and he will be coming in May of 2022 and performing the Korngold Violin Concerto, which is it's like a movie score. And if you want to hear a wonderful recording of it, Jascha Heifetz is the gold standard, and his recording of the Korngold Violin Concerto is amazing. And William has been playing this concerto with many of the major orchestras around the world, and he'll be in Springfield in May of 2022.
Trevor, I've been fortunate enough to host concert comments for the last several years, and I always find it one of the most delightful things is to get to meet these guest artists because they're really just normal people with great gifts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. They're just great. Usually, just great, nice people, and just love making music, and they're just blessed with this wonderful amount of talent that not everybody is. So it's special, and that's why there are guest artists. So with that, we're looking for guest artist sponsors that would be at the $4,000 level in order to bring, a whole roster of guest artists next year. And we have Dick and Phyllis Cheney. They've confirmed that they will sponsor a guest artist next year, and hopefully many others will join with the Cheneys to support some of the artists that we hope to bring next year. We have many pieces of the puzzle yet to put together for next season, so we can't be exact tonight, but hopefully in the next month to 6 weeks, we will definitely have everything confirmed for next year.
Yeah, terrific. That's great news. There's a group of people who are very anxious for live music and live concerts to return, and that is the musicians themselves. Well, they miss you as much as you miss them, I guarantee you. And we are now going to hear from the flute player that you heard earlier at 6 o'clock on our Sundays at 6, Amanda Pond, who's going to talk a little bit what it's like to be a musician in this horrible year. Amanda, you touched on it when you were talking to Ken, and I find it very interesting that it's not just the being in front of an audience that you miss. What you miss is the other musicians and the interaction that you have with them.
Yeah, it really is both. It's something kind of magical happens when you have both of those things, both the audience and being able to collaborate with other people. I have been able to do a few live stream concerts in the past month or so, and it's a welcome change to playing in a room by myself, definitely, but also it's odd. It's quite odd to play. Just today, I had so much fun playing with Tatiana. It was so much fun to collaborate with her. I loved preparing this program. And then you're done playing and just, it's a little spooky. It's a little quiet. And I truly miss that interaction with the audience. And it's so, in one way, as a musician, you might do, I feel like I can't help but do what I do. I love it so much. There isn't something else I could do. But when what you do makes other people really happy, and they come and talk to you about the joy they feel from the music that you've played, it's beyond icing on the cake. I mean, it's really, I feel so fortunate to
Mm-hmm.
do what I do. And, Kathy used the word lost earlier, and I think that's really accurate. I mean, there is not to be overly dramatic about it, but there is a kind of grieving that's happened for us because it's just an essential part of what we do, and we're so eager to get back to playing. Yeah.
What you do takes an enormous amount of practice and time. Do you find that it's more difficult to discipline yourself to do that practicing when you don't have the performances to look forward to?
That's funny. I have talked to a lot of my colleagues about this, and we are all over the spectrum. For me personally, I really love the daily practice. I love, it makes me feel like myself. It makes me feel normal. So even if I don't have a performance, I really have had fun kind of like revisiting old studies, finding new ones, things, trying to make the best out of the situation, find things that I wouldn't have time to do musically. The idea for this program has just been kind of gestating, and I've had time to work on it a little more than I would have normally. But I find, but I've also talked to colleagues who they absolutely are struggling to get into that daily practice again and to work on their skills, because it feels not worthwhile, or it's just too sad. It's also been a little sad at first. Yeah, there was kind of a time in the beginning where we just didn't know what was going to happen. But after a while, it's like, okay, well, it's time to get back to it, because we know eventually we'll be playing, and you want people to like what they hear.
Sure. Well, Amanda, thank you. And the performance tonight was, I said it before, it sounded perfect to me. It was just beautifully played. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. It was fun to do.
Well, this evening you did enjoy the Sunday at 6 recital with the amazing Amanda Pond. The ISO has been streaming these recitals to continue inspiring audiences, but even when the full concerts return, there may be a place for these delightful Sunday evenings. Is that right, Ken?
I think you're right, Mark. As I was saying, I really, and some of our supporters have also talked to me about it, is that these solo recitals actually give us a chance to get to know the musician better. We actually, to be actually fair to the ISO, our musicians have always been very, they enjoy being close to our patrons. At every concert afterwards, we have receptions, and we actually do get to meet them. But some of them, they have long drives, and they need to drive back to wherever they come from. So this is actually a really good way to get to talk to them a little bit, and to know what their favorite foods is, what their hobbies are, and actually where they come from. So it's been really, really great. The musicians, of course, they appreciate it a lot for obvious reasons during this time. And I think they will continue doing it, because it gives us a chance to listen to repertoire that we don't usually hear in the concert hall. So I think, Trevor, you mentioned we've had how many of these now?
We've had 13 Sunday at 6 performances, and we've reached people around the world with them, from Singapore to France to Australia. So we're reaching audiences that we would have never reached had the pandemic never happened. So it's just exciting to see. And many times it also allows family and friends of the musicians to see the musicians perform, because they can't get to our performances in Central Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see a note on the screen now. We really had some very generous people stand up. Pete and Melinda Labari and Harvey and Judy Stevens have signed on to be guest artist sponsors. So we want to thank them, and we want to encourage others who are online now to do the same thing. That's tremendous, tremendous.
So we're looking, if people would love the Sunday at 6 recital series. I mean, we're looking for sponsors that we can have another series of Sunday at 6 recitals. And for $2,500, you would be able to sponsor the entire series that we'll be planning to continue this program, as we have found it so valuable over the course of the last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mentioned earlier about this online auction that is going on, and you may want to check that out too, because there's some very appealing offers there. An Amanda Pond concert, a round of golf with our Ken Lam here. Do you have your clubs yet, Ken? Have you bought your clubs yet?
Yes, I'm going to start practicing.
Good for you. And some other things. Lots of dinners for special dinners at our hosts' homes. So you'll want to take a look at that. And we'll update you on some of those, the values that some of those are going to as we go through the evening. Trevor, I want to throw it back to you, because there are other important sponsorships that the ISO has that we haven't mentioned yet.
Yes, I mean, the one that we've been working on to have all of our musicians sponsored in the orchestra. And these sponsorships, they bring such great talent to our community, and just the passion they show performing is just wonderful. As you know, so many people have contacted us, and just how they miss, experiencing the live performances of musicians. So one of the great ways to celebrate, hopefully, near the end of the pandemic, would be to sponsor a musician at the $1,500 level. Some of our patrons will sponsor an instrument that they played as a kid, or one that maybe their grandchild plays now. So a lot of times there's just this personal connection in the musician chair sponsors. So we're looking for people to sponsor a musician, and several have already stepped up. Milton Kathy Sees, as well as Patricia and Randy Rushing, have sponsored chairs this evening, and hopefully we can add to this list of generous donors.
Now, Trevor, I just want to add one thing, which is that our orchestra is about to hit a milestone with auditions, because when I first joined as music director, I don't know, there were well over maybe a dozen or more vacant positions in the orchestra. And we are very hopeful that next week, when we hold auditions, we will fill every seat of the orchestra. Right now, we have one first violin, one second violin, one viola, and a principal oboe. And we have a record number of applicants, which I guess, yes, I think partly is to do with the pandemic and everyone's practicing, but it also speaks to, I think, the reputation of the orchestra, and we are also getting noticed by a lot of players from around the country.
That's great news. I want to add another piece of good news. Sandy Bellotti has agreed to be a chair sponsor. So there's another musician sponsorship right there. So a few more would be nice this evening, wouldn't it, gentlemen?
It sure would.
And thank you.
Okay, one of the best ways that the symphony stays in touch with its audience, and especially during this COVID-19 outbreak, had been the around the town concerts. Members of the Illinois Symphony Guild of Springfield are vital to helping us perform these events, and we would like to welcome in now Guild President Dee Dee Gain. Hello, Dee Dee.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm pleased to be here.
Tell us about your work with the Around the Town.
All right. When the Symphony office asked me to say a few words at our virtual gala this year as Guild President, I thought, what's there to say about the orchestra that only I can talk about? Well, since I've lived in Springfield all my life, there's actually plenty I can say if I just recall some of my memories over the years. Growing up, there was always music in my house. Even when I was little, my aunt, Helen Stevens, who lived down the street, would let my cousin Harvey walk over to my house to practice the tuba for the Butler Grade School Orchestra. I'm not sure what my mom was thinking to encourage this, but there was always music of some sort at my house. By the time I was old enough to pay attention, the music at home was actually pretty good, since my 3 brothers and I all took lessons and played a variety of instruments, and 2 of us became professional musicians. My mother loved going to concerts and arts events with my dad, but after he died at age 42 when I was 8 years old, Mom would take my brothers and me instead. I remember going to the Orpheum Theater to hear Van Cliburn play a recital, and we went to all the Art Association programs and the Theater Guild productions, and we always went to the Springfield Symphony Orchestra concerts. At that time, the orchestra performed at Springfield High School, and many of Mom's friends played in it since it was mainly a local organization. Dan Spreckelmeyer was the symphony manager, and he was also my music teacher at Springfield High, where I accompanied the choirs. He and his wife, Margaret, managed the symphony from their home on Douglas Avenue, where they converted a spare bedroom into the symphony office. When I moved back to Springfield after college, I joined the Symphony Guild and became active as a volunteer. For many years, I helped with the annual children's concerts that were held at the Armory. By then, the Springfield Symphony had grown to include musicians from St. Louis, Champaign, Bloomington, and Chicago, and the orchestra's repertoire had also expanded. The first time I heard The Pines of Rome by Respighi, it was in the high school auditorium. You all know the rest of the story, how the original Springfield Symphony evolved into the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, no longer performing in a high school auditorium, but now in a large concert hall, featuring professional musicians from all over the world, and with a full-time management team working in the downtown business office. I love what the symphony has become, and I'm so grateful to live in a city where I can hear live symphonic music of the highest caliber. I'm glad you're all here at our second, and I hope final, virtual gala. And I want to thank each of you for your part in making the Illinois Symphony Orchestra the real treasure that it is, and a vital part of the fabric of Springfield. Thank you, and I hope to see you all in person at a symphony concert soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dee Dee. I think Trevor has some other information about around the town concerts as well.
Yes. First, thank you, Dee Dee, and for all that the Guild does and to help support the Illinois Symphony Orchestra with all of the wonderful volunteers. We just wouldn't be what we are today. They put in so much time and effort, and it makes all the difference in the world of making the Illinois Symphony Orchestra experience great. But now, with getting into the community, our around the town performances of chamber ensembles has also been a vital part of our performances during this pandemic. And we have had luckily been able to have one live performance end of last August, but most of them have taken place virtually from the UIS Performing Arts Center. And it has given our musicians the opportunity to perform and play together that many had not been able to for so long with all of the restrictions of the pandemic. So these around the towns are sort of a way we open our doors and try to reach as many people as possible, because all of them are offered free in the community. So now is the time, and with that, we're looking for around the town sponsorships, which are $1,000 to bring a performance to a smaller location in the community, many times at churches or historic sites. So we've had others step up, and there is one that Dr. Ann Joseph and Jerry Joseph, they actually are going to sponsor a musician again. So it's glad to have them back as musician sponsors. And we've had numerous people sponsor around the towns, and hopefully we will see more come in at the $1,000 level to make these performances part of our offerings. We're looking at this upcoming season to offer a certain number of them online. So we're hopefully going to bring it both live as well as online for these performances next year.
And in addition to that, Trevor, you know, earlier in the evening, we talked about the Sundays at Six concert sponsorships. And the next sponsorship will let you sponsor a single recital for $500, give ISO musicians the opportunity to demonstrate their talent, dedication, and creativity. And so if everyone would please consider a $500 sponsorship for one recital. And that's a treat to be able to give your guests a recital for $500.
Yes, yeah, I mean, the Sunday at 6 are so great, as Ken has talked about them, as well as Amanda, and we look to continue and feature more and more of our musicians so our audiences can get to know them better. Then when we do return to the hall, they'll have that personal connection, and hopefully we'll be able to meet the musicians in person.
Okay, now we also just got an update on some of the items in the auction, and Darren tells me that the Cardinal tickets are available and they're a really good buy. And he says you can get, I think, a whole cow for $600.
Actually, half a cow for $600.
That's a lot of meat either way you look at it.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to drive everybody to that auction because there are some really nice bargains there. Now, one of the highlights of the ISO is the Education and Community Outreach Program. And that's highlighted by these next two opportunities. Katie Bieberman, the co-host of ITSY Arts, Emotion Commotion online program this year, will let the audience know about Music Matters and ITSY Arts. It's a cute name, Katie. It's a real cute name.
It is a cute name.
Tell us all about it.
So I guess in this past year, I've gotten to be a co-host for our ITSY Arts program. In ITSY Arts, this year at least, we've been filming videos, myself and Logan Campbell, where each program we introduce a different instrument and talk about how you play that instrument, different techniques. We also connect that with a certain emotion. So for example, in one episode or one program, we spoke about the violin and we talked about the emotion of happiness. We also go to the Illinois Art Station in Bloomington Normal, where we teach them how to express that emotion through arts as well. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's great to introduce music and art to children, I guess, for ITSY Arts preschoolers in a time where they can be so bored and just sitting in on their Zoom preschool, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about my experience with music as an adolescent. So I was really grateful and blessed to come from a musical family that introduced me by taking piano lessons in first grade. And this was great. I could learn how to read music at a really easy time, at that age. But when I was 9 years old, through my school's music program, we were introduced to all the different instruments, from stringed instruments, percussion, to winds. And at that time, I found my connection with the violin. So, this is something that I've carried with me my whole life. Yeah. Through school, high school, even at college, I played in the ISU Symphony Orchestra. And now even into adulthood as I play in the Illinois Civic Orchestra. It's allowed me to set goals for myself, to continue practicing and learning about the instrument and music. I've always been able to feel proud in what I could accomplish through my school's music program. I found acceptance in the program with other instruments, and really it's one of the things I've been most grateful to continue throughout my whole life.
Trevor, are you still there? Because I'd like you to address the way that actually people who are watching now or part of this online effort can help in this too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the ITSY Arts program is just so special, and it features, Katie and Logan as co-hosts, as well as it features one of our musicians for each one of the emotions. I was fortunate to actually teach the program in person in its first year when we were piloting the program. And it's so great to just see the little kids experience music and musicians and learn about emotions. And taking it online is wonderful this year. And, you know, I even enjoy it as an adult and encourage, you know, adults to go to our YouTube channel and watch an ITSE Arts program because they're wonderful. I mean, in the Happy, Roy Myers, our concertmaster, performs and even sings. So you will see Roy in a very different light than when he's sitting there in the concertmaster chair leading the orchestra in concert. So you'll see a different side of some of our musicians in this, as well as the Music Matters program, which is for elementary school kids, which is on our website at ilsymphony.org. So, you know, to bring these programs, and hopefully we will also return with these into the schools next year, but we're looking for $300 sponsorships to help underwrite the costs that are associated with creating these programs and having our musicians perform in the programs.
Thank you, Katie, for bringing that up close and personal to us. Really appreciate it. Okay. We're getting near the end, but I want to tell everybody to check out that auction because it's open till 10 o'clock tonight, and you're going to want to make sure that you get in on some of those items because they're really one of a kind. I want to give Darren's contact information again because this is the man. If you don't want to use the chat box here and you want to contact us, the way to do that is go to Darren Burnett. It's on your screen, dburnett@illsymphony.org. And his phone number is 217-522-2838, extension 113. The auction's up until 10 o'clock tonight. I'm going to leave it with Trevor and Ken, and I want to thank you for being with us for this year's gala, and hopefully next year's we'll all be together. Good night.
Thank you so much, Mark. It was great having you as host this evening, and I want to thank a few people who have come in at different levels. Debbie and Jim Ringer and Jamie Greenwald, who are sponsoring Sundays at 6 performances. Dr. Ann and Jerry Joseph, and also Debbie and Jim Ringer and Jamie Greenwald sponsoring the Music Matters program. And then also the same people, as well as Patricia and Randy Rushing, sponsoring ITSE Arts programs. So we will be able to reach the young children in our community. Another wonderful program is our Illinois Symphony Youth Orchestras, and I'm hoping many of you will consider to help in underwriting those programs that have taken place throughout the year for well over 100 youth in the community being able to make music in person. And we're looking forward to their final concert of the year, which will be virtually on May 8th, on Saturday, May 8th. And we'll be performing at the Hoagland Center for the Arts, but it will be online. So watch for the link, and we hope that you will join us for that performance. You know, we just ask, and I'm sure Ken also, that you will just support us and continue to help us bring the power of music to the Springfield community and throughout Central Illinois. Ken, you're muted yet.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Trevor. I just want to say, I want to echo Trevor's and thank everyone for your support of the symphony and your continued support throughout this pandemic and the ongoing support. I'm just really touched by all the donations that you've all offered this evening. And I myself, right after this, I'm going to go to the online auction and probably hopefully bid on a few things myself. So thank you.
I think you need a half a cow, Ken. Then when you come, we can cook it up.
That's right.
But I want to thank everybody also, and you know, we look forward to hopefully seeing you in the concert halls next year. And keep an eye out because we're still trying to make a performance happen with limited live audience in the end of June. So keep your eyes out, and the auction will continue for about another 2 hours. It will close at 10 o'clock. So usually between 9:30 and 10, the prices go up and up. So I encourage you to be there in case you want to get the item that you've been bidding on. So keep on bidding, and we thank everybody for joining us this evening, and
Trevor,
let the music move you.
Trevor, I just want to also remind everyone that Darren will be there to take calls until 10 o'clock.
Great. Thank you, Darren, and you look forward to letting everybody know how we did in the upcoming week or so. So thank you, everyone, and we hope that everybody is healthy and well, and see you very soon.